I guess that if I had to pick one team, not to completely spoil our picks at the end, but I guess the Ravens are probably the team I'd look at that's most likely to unseat the Chiefs in the AFC. Would you agree with that assessment? Do you want to use that as a springboard into your next pick? Is that the team, or are you going somewhere else?
So I don't have the Ravens as my team. I guess. So I don't know if the Ravens win the division. Like you said, I like Cincinnati.
Okay.
And a lot of that is, I think I am putting a lot of stock in the quarterback, which actually is my 2-unit bet.
Okay.
I'm going to take Joe Burrow to lead the NFL regular season passing touchdowns.
Wow.
Last week I went yards for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Kind of gave you, what they were looking at scheduling wise, some other variables. A lot just, I think, works in the favor of Mr. Prescott. I think I just want stock in Burrow. I feel like you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum with him.
I like him. I just think I got to see it.
You saw it. What do you mean?
I don't know how healthy he is.
He's fine.
Okay. Fine, I didn't know you had seen the imaging.
What concerns you about the injury? Was he just going to stink?
That feels like a thing that lingers.
I don't know. I think you're buying into. I saw some reports that they balls coming out of his hand all wrong.
NFL reporter reveals why Joe Burrow's viral glove is key. We're talking about viral gloves
coming out of his hand wrong. That is whatever.
We're talking about hands and gloves and things like that. I mean, look at Nomar was never the same after his wrist injury. That's just one of those things. It's kind of the hand, arm, wrist situation. Kind of important for a quarterback. I just want to put that out there.
All right, if I'm getting them at 12-1 or 11-1, I think it's up. I think it's down to 12-1 now. Behind the likes. So it's Mahomes for most regular season passing touchdowns. You get Mahomes, Prescott, C.J. Stroud, Josh Allen, and Burrow sitting there neck and neck with Brock Purdy. Look, I believe in the talent of Joe Burrow, but also the situation. I mean, have a hard time finding a better 1-2 combo than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Running backs,
they don't have really a running back. Yeah.
So I mean, that's just probably going to air it out, right? At least relative to I'm looking at some of the other quarterbacks I just mentioned. Most of them have a pretty good rushing attack. We saw Isaiah Pacheco come on down the stretch last year. Dallas is kind of Joe Mixon goes to Houston. I think Buffalo's sort of in this stage now. I think they're going to start leaning on the ground game a little bit more. And then obviously San Francisco, they're,
I don't think Buffalo's going to.
You don't think what?
Buffalo's going to run the ball. It's just.
You don't?
I think they're going to try to. They're just so bad at it. It's just.
All right.
That was just one thing. It's the Bills drive me nuts as a team that should run the ball a lot more. Or
I think they started to towards the end of last year.
They should play a certain kind of way. They don't lead into the Buffalo of it all. That's just the thing that
I agree with that.
Not to derail your take. Sorry.
No, I got nothing else really. I mean, I do think the offensive line will be better. I mean, it has to be better than last year or the last couple of years. Defensively, I really like them up front and on the back end. Got a couple guys. So I'm kind of mixing in my. This is why
I was going to say
I'm mixing in my Joe Burrow and my. You said the team to knock off the Chiefs in the AFC.
The defensive line going to catch some touchdowns from Joe Burrow.
Well, you're jumping in with that ain't Buffalo football. Now you're throwing me all off the rails. So yeah, whatever. Joe Burrow, regular season touchdowns. Bengals like them to win the AFC, and yeah,
Anthony Munoz coming out of retirement.
Yeah. What else you got on that viral glove?
Chris Collinsworth. Catching touchdowns.
You got your tinfoil hat on.
Chad Ochocinco.
Dissecting all the equipment that
I just was looking for. I was looking for an update, and literally the first thing that came up was something about a viral glove. So that doesn't bode well. Or maybe it's the greatest thing in the world. I don't know. Is it something out of Mario? I don't know. We're throwing.
I don't concern myself with those conspiracies.
Throwing fireballs around all of a sudden. You found a magic flower. Yeah, I don't know. It's.
What do you got? What's your
I look forward to the AFC North. My 2 unit is on the other end of the spectrum. We're talking about teams contending to win the AFC. I don't think the Patriots are going to contend to win the AFC.
Yeah, probably not.
I will give you one take that there's a bright side or a potential bright side for the Patriots. I don't think it's going the direction. I think they're going to stink. I have them as the last remaining winless team, 5-1 at FanDuel. I think they're the favorite. I think the second favorite is Tennessee, and then obviously Who else? Carolina. I think 5-1. I'll take the Patriots for a litany of reasons. The first being that they are going to stink. I think. It was weird. It felt like the sky was absolutely falling like 6 days ago, going into their second preseason game, and then Drake May has one or two nice drives, throws a ball that gets dropped, and all of a sudden, actually, maybe he could start, and maybe they won't be so bad. But you look at their schedule. You talk about a sharp football analysis. They have the second hardest schedule in the NFL this season by whatever metrics he uses. I think it's mostly like win totals and things like that of opponents. But the question here is like, when do you get your first win? So last remaining winless team. Leading up to the Week 11 bye, this is how they start their season. At Cincinnati, home Seattle, at the Jets on a Thursday night, at San Francisco, home against the Dolphins, home against the Texans, Jacksonville in London, at Tennessee. That one could be for all the marbles there. That could be 2-0-5 or 0-6 teams. At Chicago, home Rams, at Miami, Indy, bye. I look at like those first 5 or 6 games, basically going into that Tennessee game with a London game mixed in there, a couple of road games, including a Thursday night game. Your home games are against Miami, Houston, Seattle. They could, I guess, maybe clip, and then it blows up there. But I'll take my chances. I'm fading them pretty much across the board for the first couple months until I see reason to believe otherwise. I also think there's just like not a team in the NFL that has more questions about his talent level. Maybe 2 months from now, like Jalen Polk is a front runner for Rookie of the Year. Christian Gonzalez has answered all the questions about his injury and his poor performance in camp. Gerard Mayo is the second coming of D'Amico. Whatever. I just like, even if you want to compare him to Tennessee, for example, like at least there's some top end talent there. I think Carolina does stink. The Panthers might be the problem here, but I just, if you want to even dissect even more into that, like the Panthers at least play the Raiders, the Bears, and the Commanders in the first 7 weeks. So I think that's a bigger toss-up than anything the Patriots have in those first few weeks. So I think we're going to be having some difficult conversations. And then even then, like if they're 0-4, 0-5, they could turn it over to Drake May, and I don't think that necessarily fixes anything either. So I think it's going to be a difficult season.
I was going to say, you said on the heels of that second preseason game, it feels like there's a little more just like optimism, I guess, surrounding this team, and like I feel the total opposite. I feel worse about the Patriots now than I did about a week ago.
Well, I think that I'm not going to get on people for feeling optimistic about the future, but like when we're talking the future with them, it's like 25 and beyond.
Exactly, yeah. I think as it relates to this year, I'm feeling worse and worse. It feels like by the week, because like the struggles of Jacoby Brissett equally in training camp in the preseason
against
like,
twos.
And like I don't think that offensive line is going to fix itself. Like that is a persistent problem. I mean, look, you trade away your best player.
I was just about to say the defense is overrated at this point too. Well, maybe not. I think we're probably adjusting on the fly, but Judon and Barmore 2 months ago, as opposed to now, is huge.
2 months ago, I thought this was a team that, I don't want to say they're going to make noise, but they're going to be a big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, I could see a world where maybe they find their way to 6-7 wins, and it looks better. Like they're plucky, and
like you said, they're just a pain in the ass
because Brissett's taking care of the ball, and the defense. I don't think you can read too much into last season really with anything when it comes to the Patriots. I mean, the coaching change alone, right?
Yeah,
and
you can't apply it to this year.
But
so.
I mean, from about week 10 on, they were like among probably the top 3 defenses in football. Like they were really good towards the tail end of last season. And it wasn't necessarily because they were forcing turnovers or doing anything like that's unsustainable. Like they were just good. And a lot of the time they were being dealt a crummy hand too with some of the field positions. So there's a world where the defense is good and the offense just had to be respectable. But like you said, Judon's gone, Barmore's gone, Gonzalez hasn't looked like what everybody thought Christian Gonzalez was going to look like.
The Gonzalez thing in camp and preseason has been weird.
There's just, I don't know. The Gerard Mayo tenure is not off to a great start.
Good call by you. Number 1 defense by EPA from week 10 on last year.
They were good.
And would they go in those games?
It was good. And I think if you look, a lot of that, like the opponent's drive wherever they were starting was insane. It was like historically bad. They were put in bad spots, and they were still very respectable.